DrPhil.
You said your phone made hundreds of calls that you didn't make.
My mom is paranoid.
Imagine
I went to the store, logged onto the Wi-Fi.
And when you did, it shut down the registers.
if you were convinced
It's making me feel like my husband was having an affair.
He took a polygraph.
you were being hacked.
We've had Stacy's phone for 10 days. You're not going to believe what happened. Today's going to be a changing day in your life. You've never had anybody working harder to bring you to the threshold of change than right now. Now, Stacy and Andy say for the past 5 years, their lives have been torn apart by a vicious hacker who will stop at nothing to torture them. Stacy says she has purchased 12 cell phones, 5 computers, 3 tablets, 7 modems, switched between every cell phone and internet provider, and even moved 4 times, all in order to thwart her hacker. Now, Stacy says she's even resorted to wrapping her devices in tinfoil, putting them in the microwave to protect them. But she claims no matter what she does, all of her devices continue to be hacked. Now, she says this attack is personal and meant to drive her crazy and destroy her marriage.
For the past 5 years, all my devices have been hacked. It's a personal attack. It's hard to trust anyone. This is all the times that someone was changing our password. This code, you can go to the FBI portal. These are some of the devices. These are all the SIM cards. These are just all the screenshots and photos. I just want help. I want to be normal.
This hacking is not your typical hacking. There's no money that has been taken from our accounts. Stacy and I are at a breaking point.
I've had about 12 iPhones, 4 different desktops, 3 laptops, 2 to 3 iPads, 7 modems. The biggest issue I was having is these photos that would just appear. On my iPhone alone, I have 165,000 photos. On my iPhone, when I woke up in the morning, so many apps trying to download. I've got text message from Amazon about gambling, bid on this and bid on that. Random photos. There's photos of military documents. Someone sent a dog yawning with its tongue coming out on Messenger. A couple days later, there's a picture of my husband and I, but there's a dog over my face.
My wife has kept a large lockbox in our closet to pack all of our electronics.
My phone was coming on by itself. I would actually wrap it in full, put it under my bed, or I would stick them in the microwave. I take the modem with me each day to prevent someone from hacking into our account.
Verizon told us we were using enough data for a small college. Stacy and I are at the point where we would live on a mountaintop with a TV antenna and a rotary phone.
I caught myself crying, wondering, am I losing my mind? I'm like, is today the day I drive over to the mental hospital? This person that's done this needs help. It's evil.
Okay, it's good to meet the two of you. Look, I approach this with a completely open mind of trying to follow the evidence and look where things go. Are you the same way?
Yes, I mean.
That sounds like a no.
No, we're very evidence-based.
Yes.
The reason my wife has kept all of this information for 5 years is I constantly was telling her, look, I don't know how this started. I don't know why it started, but someday we're going to find our answers.
So it's not just her. You agree that this is going on?
Oh, without a doubt.
All right. Well, let's take a look at, Stacy says she's been hacked from 2013 till now, and let's talk about how she says she's been hacked. First off, passwords on all email, Facebook accounts have been changed. You mean somebody got in there and changed them?
Yes.
Okay. And then you say that your phone fills up with apps and music that you didn't download. You say there are 167,000 photos or screen grabs that appear in the iCloud.
That's correct.
And now you've had 5 routers that just burned out,
That's correct.
right? And you have a microwave that you're just sitting there and it just turns on.
That's correct.
Okay, now this is important because we've now jumped modalities here. Because one, we're talking about communications devices. Now we're just talking about an appliance.
Certainly.
That's correct.
Then you've got a smart TV that just took a picture of you. Now you said your phone made or received hundreds of calls that you didn't make.
That's correct.
And what were the duration of the calls? I
1
assume
minute.
short.
1 minute.
Okay. All right. And you said that Verizon told you that you were using as much data as a small university.
Yes, sir.
And you said you've logged on to the Wi-Fi in stores like Walmart, Best Buy, Kohl's, and because when you go in, you log on to the Wi-Fi sometimes, they encourage you to do that.
That's right.
And when you did, it just shut down the registers.
That is
Just
exactly right.
boom,
Yes.
just shut down. Okay?
Yes.
And you gave your phone to Walgreens to get photos developed, and the clerk told you that it knocked out their system.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. So you received text and screenshots, emails of women referencing your husband.
That's correct.
Okay. So that made you suspicious
You're
of
right.
what's going on. Do you know any of these women
No,
that are?
sir. No, sir.
You haven't been.
No, sir. Nothing. I've said from day one, I've never messaged a woman. I've never conversed with them. You'll never find a text message, a message, nothing like that. Last week we celebrated 25 years of marriage.
Congratulations. And then there have been some pictures that weren't code that really upset you, that you say are from the hacker. And here's an example. This is a picture of what?
That's a picture of my grandson and I, and underneath it, I didn't realize until I asked my son, what is this? It has you
stupid little blankety blank.
you think I'm messing with you, but I have better things to do under my
Yeah, it
picture.
continues. I ain't blank with you, you little dumb blank. These are actually lyrics to Big Sean's hit single, I Don't Blank
Right.
With You.
Right.
That's right.
And we wish they wouldn't, believe me.
Yeah, and you don't know Big Sean.
I did not know that. I just thought someone was being ugly until I went to my son. I said, did you do this? Because I'm accusing my son of doing this.
And then you got a photo of a dog, and then the photo shows up superimposed over your face.
That's right.
So what we have here is we have a situation where you feel like you've been targeted by a hacker or hackers across a 5-year period for no apparent gain by them other than the harassment of you.
You're right.
No money taken, no identity fraud. The only issue that you've ever had was Facebook contact switching once. So it was a wrong name with the wrong phone number, a wrong picture with the wrong name. Everything had shifted.
Right, yes. Sir.
Okay, and you gave your daughter a hacked computer and tablet, and she didn't have any issues. Your son that lives with you has not had any issues.
Right, not with
Okay.
his personal stuff.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so next, Andy says the hacker seems hell-bent on destroying his marriage by making it seem as if he's cheated on Stacy. They've been married 25 years, as he just said, so the marriage is being attacked. We'll talk about that after the break.
Stacy thinks I'm cheating on her because of the messages on the phone.
They were actually calling him by his name. Last year, it got so bad that I even made my husband take a lie detector test. I've threatened to leave him.
Tomorrow on DrPhil, she keyed her boyfriend's car,
I think I care. I don't care anymore.
got a restraining order,
Are you afraid of him?
Yes.
but keeps coming back to it.
Your daughter and I had sex every day, like yesterday, like this morning, like all the time.
Oh my God.
You sexually assaulted her.
I did not sexually assault her.
You look my wife in the eyes and use your fingers to illustrate that you've had our daughter.
That's tomorrow.
I was able to prove that my phone had powers of its own. One time I went to a local store. I logged onto the Wi-Fi. The girl started banging on the computer. I knew my device was shutting down this register. We went to the grocery store.
And as soon as she jumped on their Wi-Fi, the girl looked up and said, "My register's completely shut down." We went to an electronics store. Stacy jumped on their Wi-Fi, and the exact same thing happened.
Well, Stacy and Andy say the hacker wants to destroy their marriage by trying to make it look as if Andy here is having an affair. Now, Andy says he has done everything he can to prove to his wife that he's faithful, including taking a lie detector test and giving up his cell phone entirely. Take a look.
The hackers are out to ruin my marriage.
Stacy thinks I'm cheating on her because of the messages on the phone range from, "Hi Andy, I want to meet you," or "Can't wait to get together and have sex."
They were actually calling him by his name, sending messages and things. A message pops up on the phone saying, "I miss you," with a phone number with my husband's name. And the photo is a woman eating a hamburger. And this photo has haunted me because it just kept on coming back over and over. When we were on our cruise and we got back, all of a sudden I got this text message stating, "I'm breaking up with you because you were on a cruise with your wife." And that really set me off. How are they texting him by name? We decided to have fake names with new emails and new devices with a totally different name. Last year, it got so bad that I even made my husband take a lie detector test.
A couple of Sundays ago, Stacy shows me a text message from someone, and they were wanting to meet up and have sex. And at the bottom of it, it said, "Dirty Tinder." I've never heard of Dirty Tinder. A lot of times when we would argue the next day, a music playlist would appear on her phone with titles like, "Does she know?" "Leave her," "You have to tell her," "Tell her now."
My husband is tired of me accusing him of having an affair. I begged him, "Did you dabble? If so, just let me know," because I would rather him say, "I cheated," so it's not a mind game. I've threatened to leave him. I have one of my bags packed because it doesn't end.
This has become so tortuous. You would almost rather it be true so you knew that you weren't
Yes, exactly.
delusional.
And you're exactly right.
It's kind of like that would be, as bad as that would be, that'd be better than
what I'm going through right now.
What you're going through. Let's take a look at some of these emails. "Hi, Sugar, I'm Angela. I'm alone waiting for someone. I'm ready to hook up tonight or tomorrow. Dirty Tinder." Allison writes, "You busy, Andy? It's me, Allison in Fort Worth. Ping me. I miss you, honey." And what's your explanation for that?
I really don't have one. I'm not tech savvy. I gave up my cell phone a couple of years ago. I honestly have no idea why I'm associated with this or why it just doesn't stop.
And you've moved 4 times.
Yes.
And in that this is cyberspace, what's the point of moving?
I guess some of it was a fresh start, thinking we're just going to change everything out.
If they've not taken any money and they've not stolen your identity, so what? I mean, and I say so what
Right.
compared to the erosion of your family? Why let it get to you in this way?
It's making me feel like he's having an affair. Anytime I turn the phone on, and you got to have your phones to
He took a
communicate.
polygraph.
I know that.
Which was insane, by the way, that you let him.
But I said I'll do anything. I mean, that's why we're here. Just get it to stop. That's all we.
All right. Well, Stacy and Andy's son Blake and daughter Marla say they are sick and tired of their parents obsessing over the hacker. They're kind of like me. If it's happening, so what? If it's not, then stop worrying about it. We're going to meet them after the break.
My mom is paranoid,
These are just all the screenshots and photos that I was keeping.
I am not the hacker.
My mom's probably had over 40 phone numbers. Mom new, mom old, mom again. She's obsessed.
The newest episode of my podcast, Fill in the Blanks, is available now.
When Dr. Phil calls, I mean, how can the answer be no?
You say what a lot of people are afraid to say, what is not politically correct.
People can believe what they like. I prefer to deal with facts.
Kim Kardashian.
If she breaks wind in a public place, it's a major news event.
Can you turn his mic off? Somebody pull the plug on this guy.
Subscribe for free on Apple Podcast or Stitcher so you don't miss an episode.
When it comes to the internet and the hacking, I don't trust anyone. I suspected my husband and my son of hacking my stuff. My son Blake and I, we are oil and water. I love him, but I just don't like him. One time there was a photo of my grandson, and underneath it, it's a music lyric, but very vulgar, personal attack towards me. I was upset. I went to my son and I said, "Did you do this?"
Well, Stacy and Andy's son Blake says even though he lives in their house, he's never experienced the hack.
I am not the hacker. Why would I put random photos in their phones? Why would I put any type of secret message? There's honestly no way for me to do anything like this. It's weird enough that this has been going on for so long. My mom is paranoid. She's worried.
These are just all the screenshots and photos that I was keeping so I can turn it over to someone so they can investigate it thoroughly.
I want this to end just as much as they do. It's hard to live with my parents. If I talk to my mom, it's not really about much, usually small talk. And then if she's on her phone, I try to stay away as much as I can. I decided to join the Air Force to be away from my parents. I live in the same house and my phone has never been affected by it. I'm a little skeptical of the severity of not only the hack, but the nature of it. I've seen a lot of it for a long time. It's just random pictures of numbers and Google searches and coding their names on different parts of the internet. So it's just, I don't know if you want to call it evidence or just my mom's evidence. I feel like it's like either spam or junk. I think possibly it is them being bad at technology.
Well, Marla says that her mom is so fixated on being hacked that she's only seen her 8-month-old daughter twice. Take a look.
My mom lives on the edge. She's obsessed. Every day it's something different about her phone, and all she talks about is her phone. My mom's probably had over 40 phone numbers.
For the past year, I have 6 phone numbers in here for her. Mom new, mom old, mom again, and then mom temporary.
I don't think there's somebody personally attacking my mother. She showed me 3 photos on her phone. The angle of the photos looked like they were coming from the stove. We thought her house was haunted for a while. I think that she went onto a website and she got a virus, and the virus has stayed with her. A few years ago, my mom started taking surveys online, and she would get free stuff. You have to put a lot of personal information. You have to put your income, where you live, even your daily routine. I believe that the surveys have been behind this whole hacking. The hacking isn't the first thing my mom's been obsessed with. My mom's been obsessed with Pinterest, weight loss, exercising. I want answers just for my mom's sake. Me and my brother want my mom to be normal again.
Okay, I'm glad you guys are here. This has really affected the whole family, right?
Yes.
And you say you have an 8-month-old?
I do.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
And girl or boy?
She's a girl.
Uh-huh. And but you say that your mother's only seen her twice in 8 months?
Twice in 8 months.
Do you live like on another planet?
I live 2 hours, but they have weekends off. Sometimes she has Fridays off, so she could come. My stepdad actually has come a little bit more to visit, but
you think she's pretty consumed with this?
She's very consumed.
Okay. And what do you think's going on? You say you've never experienced it and you're in the house.
Right.
But you use the routers and everything that's in the house. How are you not hacked?
I actually don't really use the Wi-Fi that much. Like, I just use my phone because I don't even want to mess with it.
Do you tend to get obsessed with things?
I have been obsessed with the internet because it affects me every single
But
day.
I mean, if you've been, do you have, I mean, different people have different personalities. Do you have the tendency to get pretty intensely involved with things?
Yes, I try to follow through when I start something, yes.
Does it cause you pause when I'm talking about that this hacking seems to be jumping modalities? Like a hacker is now hacked your microwave, your TV, the registers at Kohl's. It's jumping modalities.
It definitely causes concern.
We have had possession of Stacy's current phone for the past 10 days because, thank you, by the way, because we wanted to see just exactly what went on here. You're not going to believe what happened. Find out after the break.
The FBI said, unless I am physically threatened, there's nothing they can do. I actually turned it over to the Federal Trade Commission not once, but twice.
The tech experts normally tell us they've never seen anything like this, and they're going to try and help us, and they'll call the fraud squad. It never results in help. Most of the time, they tell us they're not familiar with what's on our phone.
I'm kind of having a common sense alert here, just common sense alert. Because you got to step back and don't get bogged down in all the technology, just have common sense. Number one, it's gone on for 5 years. That's a hell of a practical joke. That's a hell of a harass somebody for no payoff, no money, no stolen identity. Now, here are the issues on Stacy's phone. This is the current phone. And as I say, we've had this for 10 days. Now, there's no way for the hacker to know whether this is in your hands or our hands. And you say you wake up daily to 30 plus photographs or screen grabs that you didn't take in your camera roll. Well, we had this for 10 days and we had not one new photo in 10 days. It didn't happen. You say new apps that you didn't download added daily, and your apps are arranged in a different order when you get up in the morning. We had this, and it had the same apps, and they stayed in exactly the same place for 10 days. You say there are open windows, bookmarked websites that you've never visited. We had an empty browser history when we took it. Remember, we emptied the browser history. After 10 days, browser history still empty. Not one single website has been accessed or opened. You said when the phone dials, it just on its own puts 0111 before any number. It did that when we tried it too, until we turned off the US dialing setting in your settings, and then it stopped doing that. You had it turned on in your settings. As soon as we flipped that off, it quit doing that. You say you charge the phone all night, and you get up in the morning, it's only 5% of the battery's charged. Well, we put it on a camera and charged it overnight and watched it, and it went from 0 to 100%. So it charged just fine. And you said the phone got extremely hot. It never got hot when we had it. Not one thing that you experienced with this phone, 10 days in a row, got up every morning, every 10 days, not one of those things happened one time. We also took the phone that you had when you went to Kohl's and Walmart and all. And you said when you went on and got on their Wi-Fi, it shut down their registers. We took that phone into Kohl's, into Walmart, into Best Buy, that phone, and logged on to their Wi-Fi, walked right up to the register and checked out.
It might not have happened when y'all did it, but these things did happen.
Okay, I want to welcome via Polycom Mark, the senior forensic analyst from Digital Forensics Corporation, who conducted the investigation. Now, they are a leading specialist in extracting and analyzing digital evidence. And they regularly work with Fortune 500 companies, the FBI, and police departments. And they examined 5 devices of Stacy's choice, 1 laptop and 4 phones, including her current phone. Mark, thank you so much for digging into this. What did you find?
There is absolutely no evidence at all of remote access, of malware, spyware, anything that could be construed as what people call hacking. It's just not there.
So there is no hacker, no one is hacking this telephone?
No, that is correct.
This expert is telling you that did not happen. You have not been hacked for 5 years.
Where do we go from here? How do we get normal from here?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. So let's take a break. What's to be done from here? I'll give you my thoughts after the break, and we're going to add someone to the conversation.
Monday on an all-new DrPhil, a missing teen.
People started calling me a murderer. Are you kidding me?
The night she disappeared.
You described her as disoriented. Did y'all think about taking her to the ER?
I wish I had.
What did Carly say?
You can hear her asking in the audio, are you going to call 911? They refused to call for help.
Not true. How dare you?
Would you let us hear that tape?
That's Monday.
Well, we're back, and joining us is Dr. Charles Sophie, who is on the DrPhil Advisory Board. He is board certified in 3 clinical specialties: adult psychiatry, child and adolescent psychiatry, and family practice, as well as being the medical director for DCFS here in Los Angeles, which is the largest agency of its kind in the country. So thank you for being here. And Dr. Sophie here has examined the medications that you're taking, and you have some concerns about side effects that could actually sensitize her to this.
Correct. So you've been on what medications?
There's several of them. Adderall, and I take, there's several of them they just put me on recently.
For
Just one of the
brittle
challenges.
shoulder syndromes for
It's one of the challenges you
fibro.
face with lupus is having to take some of this. But you said you're on Adderall?
Mm-hmm.
What are the side effects of Adderall?
And hormones.
What are the side effects of Adderall, particularly if you don't need it?
Well, if you're on it for 5 days and you're off, and you're on, you're off, and for how many years, it can create a lot of the side effects. Hallucinations, delirium, psychosis, irritation, aggression, all those kinds of mental issues. And they're just the mental health ones. Then there's physical ones, cardiovascular things, stuff like that. And then you're taking the other drug, which is really a very toxic drug. And that has huge side effects. And it's twisting your head. And you're misperceiving things. He supports you because he loves you, but it's not real.
There are 2 things that I would like to do. One is the PNP clinic, which I think is one of the top diagnostic clinics in the country, if not the top, is right in your area. It wouldn't matter if it wasn't. I would send you there wherever. I think that the first thing that we should do is have you go there and get a complete and thorough evaluation and workup and see what your levels are medication-wise, do a brain scan, see exactly what's going on, because I think you might be victimizing yourself with this medication. I want to welcome Dr. Daniel Suzuki and Trevor Asmus. I've asked them to come, and Aurora Las Encinas, and this is a beautiful and safe environment for healing. It's located out in Pasadena, and when I say it's beautiful, my gosh, congratulations on having such a wonderful facility out there. They are a top psychiatric and medical evaluation center that really specializes in medically supervised, patient-centered care, and I don't know that this is something that you need, but I have asked them to come here because I wanted you to meet them, because if that's something that you need, because I think these people would be ideal for helping you. You think you could really help her, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Although it's confusing, your story, what's not confusing is how much suffering this has caused you and your family. And I think if you come to our hospital, our team can really help you understand more what's happened, and more importantly, figure out a path with you, the treatment team, to figure out how to move ahead in your future.
Is it within your realm of thinking that you can entertain the possibility that, in fact, you have not been hacked?
It's going to be hard because I lived with it for so long, what I was experiencing.
Right. But it's possible that you've been misrepresenting this to yourself and misinterpreting things that were going on. And I'm not saying that nothing has gone on. I'm not saying that you don't have 167,000 photos on your camera roll, because you do. The question is just, did they get there from a hacker? And the answer is no. I got you the answers. And now I'm getting you the help so you can frame these things up realistically.
All right.
Fair enough?
I appreciate it.
Very special thanks to Dr. Daniel Suzuki and Trevor Asmus of Aurora Los Encinas Hospital. Also a special thanks to Digital Forensics Corporation and to Dr. Charles Sophie, as well as P&P Center for helping Stacy. As you can see, we've brought a lot of resources to bear here from a lot of different areas to help you, so I hope you really embrace this. Coming up, we're going to talk to someone who believes that most Americans are distrustful, and he'll tell me why he thinks that's true.
If I'm not telling somebody to commit violence, I am not inciting them to violence. Free speech is under assault because of a three-step argument made by the advocates and justifiers of violence. Left versus right matters a hell of a lot less than right versus wrong.
Do you have a story only I can help solve? Go to DrPhil.com and click Be on the Show, or text Phil to 88500. You know, I've always personally adhered to a very strict rule, and that is I keep my politics to myself. I don't think I should use this platform to influence anybody's politics, so I don't ever talk about politics. My next guest, not so much. He is a controversial newsmaker who says we live in the best world that has ever existed, and yet we are more divided than ever before.
Free speech is under assault because of a three-step argument made by the advocates and justifiers of violence. The United States is a global engine of growth, not just because of free markets, but because of the values embedded in free markets. The only way to ensure that political correctness continues to lose is if we tell the truth. I have a very strong standard with regard to incitement. If I'm not telling somebody to commit violence, I am not inciting them to violence. If we don't have social fabric, if we don't have community, if we don't know what America is about or what we're doing in the world, if we don't have purpose and meaning, it makes it almost impossible to live a fulfilled life. Left versus right matters a hell of a lot less than right versus wrong, and right versus wrong is just another way of saying true versus false.
Well, please welcome my good friend who has appeared on the show before, the editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire, who is the author of several books, Ben Shapiro, who is here to talk about his latest book, The Right Side of History, which is online and in stores today. Welcome, Ben Shapiro. I always introduce you as controversial. I have to. You are controversial.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's the way it
goes.
goes.
I don't know. It makes people think.
I hope so. That's always the idea.
Yeah. Well, you have written a new book, and I've read it. It is very well done. Congratulations on this. What motivated you to write this book?
Well, you know, during the 2016 election, I was noticing the level of anger that was just palpable in public. It was much larger than the level of anger that I'd seen in recent times in modern American history. And at the same time, the divisions on actual policy seemed actually narrower than they had been in many areas in past elections. When it came to how angry we were at each other, the levels were extremely high. I was receiving enormous numbers of death threats. I was the most targeted Jewish journalist online by the alt-right. Why are we so angry at each other? Why are we so mad? And that got me to thinking, what do we even have in common with each other anymore? And that brought me to the book.
The book is about two mysteries, you say. The first mystery, why are things so good? The second mystery is, why are we blowing it?
So the first mystery is why are things so good? So things are unbelievably good. By any standard of history, we are living in the best time in human history, in the best place in human history. You're going to live in prosperity. You're going to be able to order any product you want with the press of a button. It will arrive magically at your door inside of 3 days. I mean, it's an amazing time to live, an incredible time to live. And at the same time, suicide rates are going up. They're the highest that they've been in decades. Our dissatisfaction with our social institutions is extremely high. The level of anger, as I say, at one another is palpable. We feel like our politics are broken. We're calling for revolutionary solutions. And so the first question is, how did things get so good in the first place? And to do that, I say we need to go back to original principles. What created this civilization? And I talk about the fact that on college campuses, we don't teach these things anymore. We don't teach the classics. We don't teach about Judeo-Christian values. We don't teach about Greek reason. We don't teach the foundations of Western civilization. Instead, it seems like we have replaced the entire conversation about what made the West great with why the West sucks. And that's just not true. The West doesn't suck. The West is pretty unbelievable. And that is true by any standard. I mean, even take issues that are deeply controversial, like the issues of race. Racism in America, by any metric, is at an all-time low. And yet we are treating each other as though race issues are the most pressing issues in America. Now, racial injustice and racial intolerance and racism itself, we should be calling it out wherever we see it. But to suggest that Western civilization is the repository or the creator of racism, that's just a failure to acknowledge realities on the ground.
You say racism is at an all-time low, but you acknowledge if you're the target of it, if you're the one that's suffering it, for you it's 100%. You might be a part of a statistic where it's the lowest it's ever been, but if you're the one that's being excluded, you're the one that's being marginalized, you're the one that's being impacted by it, for you, it's 100%. It doesn't matter where it is statistically.
That is, of course, true. And as I've said, I was the #1 target of online anti-Semitism in 2016. That does not mean that America is an anti-Semitic country. America is an overwhelmingly philo-Semitic country that has been incredibly good to Jews. It works the other way, too, right? We can recognize that our personal experience may not, in fact, be indicative of what American civilization is. And we have to separate those two things out, because otherwise, we end up creating false divides. I think every good-hearted person in America wants to find individual instances of racism and then fight them. The question becomes, do you see America as a repository of evil that needs to be torn down and then replaced with something else? Or do you see America as a country that has great principles that we have not always lived up to, but that we are trying to live up to better and better every day?
Right. All right. Well, the book is The Right Side of History by Ben Shapiro, and we're going to hear Ben's thoughts on how we can raise children who are not so angry when we come back. Hey, we are taping season 17 of DrPhil. But wait a minute, something's missing. Oh, it's you! If you're going to be in the Los Angeles area and want to watch a live taping, visit DrPhil.com and click Be in the Audience. Tickets are free, and I hope to see you soon. I'm talking today with my friend Ben Shapiro, host of his own show, The Daily Wire, and author of several New York Times bestsellers, including his latest book, The Right Side of History, which is online and in stores today. It seems like in times past they could differ ideologically on politics, but still treat each other with civility as individuals. And now it seems like if you disagree, you have to hate that person.
Well, I think once we stopped seeing each other as individuals and started seeing each other as members of groups, then this was bound to happen. Because once you're a member of a tribe and you see an opposing tribe, that's an opposing tribe to be fought or destroyed. If you see yourself as an individual and the other person as an individual, then that's completely different. I mean, for me, this is the fundamental basis of Western civilization, is the most important verse in the history of man, which is that human beings were made in the image of God. Once you realize that every individual has innate human value, and that person's value that gives them rights before God that are the same as your rights, well, then you don't have the right to try and run roughshod over that person. You don't have the right to treat that person with incivility or brutality or violence. You have to treat that person with a certain baseline level of respect.
You had an interesting quote on page 214 of your book. You say, if we wish for our civilization to survive, we must be willing to teach our children. We must make our children messengers for the truths that matter. Is that happening?
I don't think so. I think that to a large extent, many parents, including parents who I know, I think that they've abdicated responsibility. They're more interested in being friends with their kids than inculcating values. They feel like it's actually judgmental to teach their kids values. Let your kid discover their values on their own. There are certain fundamental values you must teach your children, or you are undermining the civilization from which they spring. Values that I think that we all take for granted because we grew up in a Judeo-Christian civilization, or at least a civilization that still takes those values seriously. The values of personal responsibility. The idea that in a free country, you're supposed to think of yourself as an actor capable of making decisions, not as a victim of circumstance incapable of making decisions. That if there's a problem in your life, the first place you should look is to you instead of necessarily looking to the society. That's not to ignore societal problems, but it is to say, if the problem is yours, then the problem is yours. It is not society's at large, and that if you want to respect other people's individual rights, you have to take individual responsibility.
And we're talking about colleges and the climate that's changing on college campuses, which I think at one time was where you went to get exposed to all different kinds of ideas so you could make your own choices. That seems to be changing. And now we've just had a huge scandal break where double-digit millions of dollars have been spent buying kids into college. What's going on with that?
Well, honestly, I think that the mission of colleges themselves changed. So there used to really be two missions for universities and colleges. Mission number one was to teach the classics, to teach old truths, to try and teach people about their civilization. Mission number two was to teach you a skill set so that you could get a job when you were done with college. The truth is that what colleges have now become is places where you get credentialed, right? You go there so that people think you're smart. And number two, it creates an ersatz social fabric. It creates a fake social fabric, colleges do. This community where we all get together, we drink, we party, and these are the friends you go to when you need a job later. You're not actually learning anything, and that's why a lot of college students are insulted when they are confronted with a thought they don't like on college campuses. That was not part of the bargain. They were there for the credential, and they were there to party and hang out and make friends and create a social fabric they were going to be able to rely on later. They weren't there to deal with new ideas.
The book is The Right Side of History, How Reason and Moral Purpose Made the West Great. It's by Ben Shapiro. I want to thank all of my guests today, including podcast host and best-selling author Ben Shapiro. Remember, go out and buy his latest book, The Right Side of History, which is online and in stores today. You can catch me on my podcast as well at fillintheblanks.com and Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We will see you next time. Ben, thanks for being here.